Gingerbread Man. One day, the cook went into the kitchen to make some gingerbread. She took some flour and water, treacle and ginger, mixed them well together, put in more water to make it thin, then more flour to make it thick, a little salt and some spices, and then she rolled it out into a beautiful, smooth, dark yellow dough. Then she took the square tins and cut out some square cakes for the little boys, and with some of the round tins she cut out some round cakes for the little girls, and then she said, "I'll make a little gingerbread man for him. Little Bobby." So I took a nice round piece of dough for his body, and a smaller piece for his head, and peeled it off a little for his neck. 2 more blocks were glued to the bottoms of the legs, pulled into proper shape, with the feet and toes completed, and 2 smaller pieces made into arms, with dear little hands and fingers. But the most beautiful work was done on the head, for the top was curled into a pretty sugar hat, on either side a dear little ear was made, and in front, after carefully shaping the nose, a pretty mouth was made of a large raisin, and bright little eyes with burnt almonds and caraway seeds. Then, the gingerbread man was ready to bake, and he was a very funny little man. In fact, he seemed so cunning that the cook feared he was up to some mischief, and when the mixture was ready for the oven, she put in the square cakes and put in the round cakes. Then she put the little gingerbread man in a far back corner, where he couldn't escape quickly. Then she went up to sweep the hall, and swept until the clock struck 12, when she hurriedly dropped her broom and shouted, "Lucas! The gingerbread will burn to the ground." She ran into the kitchen and opened the oven door. And the square cakes were all ready, nice and hard and brown, and the round cakes were all ready, nice and hard and brown, and the gingerbread man was ready too, nice and hard and brown. He was standing in his corner, his little caraway eyes sparkling, and his raisin mouth gushing with mischief as he waited for the oven door to open. The moment the door opened, with a hop, skip, and a jump, he went straight over the square cakes and the round cakes, and over the cook's arm, and before you could say Jack Robinson, he was running through the kitchen. On the ground, as fast as his little legs would carry him, towards the back door, which was wide open, and through it the garden path could be seen. "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm a gingerbread man." The old cook turned around as quickly as she could, and it was not very quick, for she was a heavy woman and was quite surprised to see her lying on the other side of the doorway, fast asleep in the sun. The old Mouser, the cat. "Mouser, Mouser," she shouted, "stop the gingerbread man. I want him for little Bobby." When the cook first called, Mouser thought it was only someone calling in her dreams, and she simply rolled over lazily, and the cook shouted again, "Ratcatcher, Ratcatcher." The old cat jumped up, but as soon as she turned to ask the cook what all the noise was about, the little gingerbread man jumped cleverly under her tail, and in a moment was trotting down the garden path. The mouse turned hastily and ran after her, though she was still very sleepy. She could not tell what she was trying to catch, and after the cat came the cook, moving with rather heavy steps, but also moving at a very good speed. Now at the bottom of the walk was Towser the dog, lying asleep in the sun against the warm stones of the garden wall. "Towser, Towser, stop the gingerbread man," cried the cook. "I want it for little Bobby." When Towers first heard her call, he thought someone was speaking in his dreams, and turned on his side, with another snort, and then called to the cook again, Towser, stop it, stop it." Then the dog woke up earnestly, and jumped to his feet to see what he had to stop. But when the dog jumped up, the little gingerbread man, who had been watching for an opportunity, slipped quietly between his legs, and climbed up the stone wall, so that Towser saw nothing but the cat running down to him. Walking, and behind the cat was the cook, now completely out of breath. "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm a gingerbread man." He immediately thought that the cat must have stolen something, and that it was the cat that the cook wanted to stop. Now, if there was anything Towser loved, it was to chase after the cat, and he leapt down the walk with such violence that the poor cat had no time to stop herself or get out of his way, and together they came with a great whooshing, barking, meowing, howling, scratching, and biting, as if two of Catherine's wheels had set off in the wrong direction and mixed up with each other. But the old cook was running so hard that she was unable to stop herself any better than the cat had done, and she fell directly on top of the mingled dog and cat, so that the three of them rolled over while walking in a state of disarray, stacked together. And the cat scratched whatever piece came nearest, whether it was a piece of the dog or of the cook, and the dog bit whatever came near it, whether it was a piece of the cat or of the cook, so that the poor cook was badly beaten on both sides. Meanwhile, the gingerbread man had climbed the garden wall and stood at the top with his hands in his pockets, looking at the ruckus, and laughing until tears came out of his little caraway-filled eyes and his raisin mouth was boiling. It all ended up being fun. Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm a gingerbread man. After a short while, the cat managed to dig itself out from under the cooker and the dog, and it was a very wrinkled, outcast cat. She was tired of hunting gingerbread men and snuck back into the kitchen to repair the damage. The dog, who was very angry because his face had been badly scratched, left the cooker, and at last, when he saw the gingerbread man, he nailed a nail into the garden wall. The cook got up, and although her face was also badly scratched and her dress torn, she was determined to see the end of the chase, and she followed the dog, but this time more slowly. When the gingerbread man saw the dog coming, he jumped to the other side of the wall and started running across the field. Now in the middle of the field there was a tree, and at the foot of the tree lay Goku, the monkey. He was not asleep, monkeys are never asleep, and when he saw the little man running across the field and heard the cook calling, "Goku, Goku, stop the gingerbread man," he immediately jumped up with a great leap. But he jumped so fast and so far that he ran right past the gingerbread man, and fortunately, he fell on the back of Towser the dog, who had just rushed over the wall, and whom he had never seen before. I noticed. Towser was naturally taken aback, but he turned his head and immediately bit off the end of the monkey's tail, and Goku quickly jumped back up, gibbering his indignation. Meanwhile, the gingerbread man came to the bottom of the tree and was saying to himself, "Now, I know a dog can't climb a tree, and I don't think the old cook can climb a tree. As for the monkey, I'm not sure, because I've never seen a monkey before, but I'll go up." He raised himself hand by hand until he reached the top of the branch. "Climb, climb, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm a gingerbread man." But the monkey jumped with one spring to the lowest branch, and in a moment he too was at the top of the tree. The gingerbread man crawled to the far end of the branch and hung it with one hand, but the monkey swung himself under the branch, extended his long arm, and pulled the gingerbread man in. Then he lifted it and looked at it. He was so hungry that the little raisin's mouth began to wrinkle at the corners, and his caraway seed eyes filled with tears. And then what do you think happened? Why, little Bobby himself came running up. He was taking his afternoon nap upstairs, and in his dreams it seemed as if he kept hearing people calling Little Bobby, Little Bobby. Until at last he jumped up, and, certain that someone was calling him, he ran down the stairs, without even waiting to put on his shoes. As he descended, he could see through the window in the field behind the garden the cook, the dog, and the monkey, and could even hear Towser's barking and Goku's chattering. He sprinted down the walkway, his little bare feet hitting the warm gravel, climbed the wall, and in a few seconds was under the tree, while Goku held the poor little gingerbread man. "Drop it, Goku!" Bobby shouted, taking it down from what Goku had done, because he always cared for Bobby. He dropped it so straight that the gingerbread man fell straight into Bobby's raised apron. Then Bobby picked it up and looked at it, and Little Raisin's mouth curled lower than ever, and tears flowed straight from Caraway Seed's eyes. But Bobby was so hungry that he couldn't hold back the ginger tears, and he took one big bite, swallowing his legs and a piece of his body. "Oh," the gingerbread man said, "you're gone for a third." Bobby took another bite, swallowing the rest of his body and arms. "Oh, 2/3 are gone," said the gingerbread man. Bobby gave a third bite and swallowed his head. "Oh, she's all gone," said the gingerbread man. And so it was, and this is the end of the story.